So, good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Cross and Pen. Today, I want to address a question that many people have asked me, and that question is, do I plan to skydive again? As many of you may know, I broke my ankle and dislocated my ankle back in February when I had a rough landing. It was my sixth jump, and the jump actually went really well. The jump was great. I was stable in the air. I was very happy. I was very excited, very exuberant. Even after I broke my ankle, I looked at my instructor when I was in the back of an outdoor golf cart, if you will. They call it the Gator, so it's kind of like a Gator golf cart. I was in the back of this golf cart and talking to my instructor and asking him how the jump went. And I said, I think I did pretty good. I was stable in the air, and he thought that was kind of funny because that was really my only concern at that point. I wasn't really too concerned about my ankle. I mean, I knew I broke it, and it was obvious. So I mean, what am I going to do? And then, of course, my first question to my surgeon when I was at the hospital and he came in, he kind of went through the procedure of what they were going to do, and he said, "Do you have any questions?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "How soon can I jump again?" And he said, "Oh, you're that guy." And I said, "Yes, I'm that guy. I'm that guy." And I'm still that guy and still ready to go. So the answer, yes, I do plan to jump again as soon as I can. When I'm outside the house, I have to wear this boot that I hate wearing because it's just cumbersome. Don't wear it inside the house because I really don't need to protect my foot from anything. I'm usually sitting all day or hobbling around in a very small area that I don't have to worry about injuring myself. So if I could jump with my boot on, I would definitely do a tandem jump with my boot on. I've actually given that some thought, and I've actually even posed that question to one of the instructors that, hey, if I can hobble out to the plane on my crutches, and someone can hold my crutches until after the jump, would you tandem me? Would you take me for a tandem? If I show up. So I haven't got an answer back on that one, but I would. I really would. I don't care what anybody thinks, and if you're watching this and thinking I'm crazy, well, go right ahead. But yeah, I'm kind of proud of that anyway. So, but I would jump in a heartbeat. But my goal is to get back to it by August. I want to capitalize on the warm weather in August, and I want to finish my last 16 jumps and get my A license. And for those who don't know, if you're the uninitiated, not in the skydiving community, when you get your A license, it's a letter A in a circle, and it's a stamp that goes on your paperwork. And then they also stamp it on your forehead. That's a tradition. And so I'm looking forward to getting my forehead stamped because I have lots of it. Maybe they can actually probably even stamp it twice. But I'm looking forward to get my forehead stamped. So there's a quote that I read that said, "For those who jump, no explanation is necessary, and for those who don't, no explanation is possible." That really adequately describes skydiving and the people involved and not involved. If you have never jumped, you will never understand. You just won't. And that's fine. And I don't begrudge anybody who's not interested in jumping. If you're afraid of heights, if it's not your forte, hey, that's cool. Plenty of things I don't like to do too. But don't sit back and judge something you know nothing about. Don't do it. Because you're really just going to irritate a lot of people. You're going to make yourself look stupid because you don't really know what you're talking about. For those who don't know, I'm highly educated. I've got a doctorate in strategic leadership, published in my field. I've got my little academic stamp, as it were, which means that I am proficient in research. Prior to my first tandem jump, I did a ton of research, probably weeks worth, maybe even a month. Really spent a lot of time watching videos, reading articles, just researching everything I could find about skydiving because I was a little apprehensive. How safe is this? How dangerous is this? How often do accidents happen? How does the parachute work? I wanted to kind of understand what the process was going to be. It was interesting when I went for my tandem jump and then my instructor went through everything. It was something that I already knew, and I just kind of nodded and listened. But as he went through everything, I had seen I don't know how many versions of the instruction that you get for a tandem jump prior to actually doing it. So, it's good to do your research. And here's what I learned. Skydiving has become incredibly safe. If you're going to skydive, tandem skydiving is the way to go. It's the safest way to skydive because you're jumping with somebody who has at least 3 years of experience minimum to become a tandem instructor. So you have to have 3 years experience minimum 500 jumps. And I can tell you based on the different license levels and the different jump requirements and the different proficiency requirements over time, if you're going to go tandem jumping, you're probably going to be with somebody that has at least 2,000 jumps, somebody who really knows what they're doing. So it's safer because you have somebody who is experienced, because you're jumping with a bigger chute. Bigger chutes tend to have less issues than smaller chutes. Something that you'll learn about if you ever get into the sport is that there are different size chutes. Now, when you're a student, you're going to jump typically a chute that matches your weight. There's a formula where you do the square foot or the square inches of your weight and figure out what size chute you need. You know, so somebody like me, I weigh about 205 pounds. I jump a 280 not square foot, square inch canopy. Basically, that means that I'm going to fall slower, so I have more time in the air. I don't have to try to maneuver as quickly as somebody who has a smaller chute. Typically, people with smaller chutes are those who are more experienced. So they know what they're doing, and a lot of times those folks are going to line up on final approach, and they're going to come in really, really fast and flare at the last minute and stop on a dime, which is something that I should have done on my jump when I injured myself, but I won't do that again. I will always flare sooner than later. But hey, it happens, so no big deal. But back to the sort of the topic at hand, and the question is, you know, will I jump again? Yes, and I would jump. Literally, I would jump if I could jump with my boot. I would, because I'm not going to land on my feet. I would land on my butt. You lift your legs up, so I would be fine with that. Everybody and their grandmother who is associated with me would lose their mind if they found out I did that. Oh well. You know, I feel like if you're not risking your life, you're not living your life. That's just me. And you know what? For all those people who go, oh, I can't believe you're like that. Well, guess what? You know what? You're going to die one day. And I'd rather die living than die laying around with a bunch of hoses and tubes and things in my body just waiting. No. Don't like hospitals, don't like doctors, don't like any of that. Although I do love my surgeon. He's an awesome guy. But he's a foot guy, so he's not even like a real doctor. He's a different kind of doctor, so he's cool. But, you know, if you have faith, if you really have faith, and you know where you're going, it's not a big deal. And I'll tell you, after I jumped out of a plane the first time, it taught me a lot about fear. And I really don't fear the things that I used to fear. And I really don't fear death anymore. You know, it's going to come, and maybe it's going to be a skydiving accident, maybe it's going to be a car accident, maybe it's going to be natural causes. Who knows? Earthquake? I don't know. Probably not that many earthquakes in Virginia. But it could be any number of things. You just have to be prepared and know what's on the other side and live your life accordingly. And for those who think that such endeavors are reckless, I say this. God needs people everywhere. He needs them everywhere. God needs people who ride motorcycles. God needs people who are in special forces, jumping out of planes in the middle of the night and performing clandestine operations overseas. God needs people who teach first grade. God needs people who volunteer at homeless shelters. God needs people who work for charities. God needs college professors. He needs law enforcement folks. He needs medical professionals. God needs everybody. He needs people in every walks of life. So, because somebody's interested in something, because somebody enjoys something, don't judge what you don't know. And remember, for me, I have my faith. If my chute doesn't open, my reserve doesn't open, or something goes wrong, I accept that risk the moment I get on the plane. Why? Because I have faith in where I'm going when I leave this world. I have no fear about leaving this world, because the world that I'm going to is so much better than this one it just, this world pales in comparison. And while people might miss me, I'm probably not going to miss them or this world, because you just can't be in paradise and miss this world. You can't. So, for me, overcoming fear and skydiving is a testament to faith. And out of my skydiving adventures came an idea that my daughter and I are working on for some apparel that deals with faith, it deals with fear. Don't want to go into too much of it right now because we're developing it. But I would never have had that idea had I not gone skydiving. And I really do believe that, if you're going to skydive, and there's lots of people who are skydiving who are not Christians, and there's lots of people who are, probably more non-Christians than Christians. I would guess. I don't have statistics, but if I had to guess, that's what I would say. But what if we could use this activity to minister to people? Because Jesus came to save the lost. He didn't come to save those who already believed. They don't need saving. They believe. He came to save the lost. And so, like I said, he needs people everywhere. And so for those who don't understand it, that's fine. I don't understand some things people like to do. People like to go out fishing. I've been fishing as a kid, but it's just not something that interests me to do as an adult. I think it's boring. But if that's your thing, and you want to go out there and fish and it relaxes you, okay, that's great. I have no problem with it. God needs people there too. So we all have our own personalities that God created us to have, and we have our likes and our dislikes. And within those likes and dislikes, we have the opportunity to engage in activities, to interact with people, and to just be good Christian witnesses. So with this experience for me, it's been really terrific because I've met some great people. The folks who own the drop zone where I go are good Christian people, which is awesome to know that. Really just wonderful people. They've checked on me several times. And none of this is their fault, it's my fault. But just really great folks. And it's opened up, a whole new door in my life. I'm going to be writing about this experience. I'm still organizing my thoughts. I don't think it's going to be a book or anything like that. Booklet maybe, maybe a really long paper. But really just to describe how this started, what I went through, what I've learned, and something that maybe could be passed on to others who are going through similar experiences to encourage them. I'm told by my doctor and the folks that I'm around, that I'm very positive. I'm very eager to get back on my feet. They expect me to be up sooner than later. Most people would be 6 months to a year. He expects like 3 months for me to be back up because I'm just going to push myself as hard as I can until I can be 100%, because that's just who I am. But I feel that there's a bigger picture for all of it. Number one, you don't quit. So for those who know me, I'm not going to quit. I will die before I quit. That's just how it goes. I'd rather die than quit. So yeah, I'm going to get back to skydiving at some point. I'm hoping it's August. Maybe it's later. Could even be next year. I don't know how physical therapy is going to pan out. I haven't walked on my foot yet, so I can't gauge. Once I start walking on my foot, I'll have a pretty good idea. Getting back to skydiving is not necessarily my first priority. Walking and driving are actually my first priorities. But I do want to get back to it. I do want to finish meet my goal, complete my goal of getting my A license. I'm a very goal-oriented person. And I want to show people that you can recover and you can get back to life. And, maybe that's part of God's plan for me is to use that part of my personality to say, hey, you're this tenacious kind of a person who's not going to give up. You're not going to quit. Maybe there's a lesson there for others. Maybe there's some inspiration. I don't know. I'm guessing. I have no idea. I know that there are people I've met so far along the way who have made comments to me about just how encouraged they were by my attitude. And these are people who aren't even who aren't even injured. These are like the nurses and the doctors and you know, the people that I've interacted with. So you know, you never know what little interaction is going to impact somebody. And I've been positive throughout this whole experience. I've actually been happy throughout this whole experience. I'm gonna get a little antsy now because I want to get moving. But every day I wake up and I'm happy. I'm happy that I'm alive. I'm happy for my life and the things in my life and the people in my life. And so I try to take that positivity and just play it forward, as it were, and share that with folks, because a lot of people out there have issues, and maybe just seeing somebody triumph and overcome is enough to motivate them. And maybe that's part of my purpose with all this. I don't know. But I do know in my heart that I'm not meant to quit. And so I do intend to get back to skydiving at some point. I have a rough timeline. It's just something that I picked out of thin air. I said, I want to get back by August. I don't know if that's even doable. I'm hoping it is. If it is, great. I'll get back to it and you know, keep going. And there'll be future videos about it. And as I said, there'll be some ideas coming here as my daughter and I develop this this idea that came out of this, because there is definitely an element of faith involved when you jump out of an airplane. At least if you're a Christian. I mean, non-Christians, I don't know what they're thinking when they jump, but you know, maybe they're just crossing their fingers. I have no idea. But I'm hoping that all of this works together so that people can look at my experience not as just inspirational or something that, you know, somebody overcame and triumphed, but really I want people to look and see the faith element behind everything. And that's, again, something that my daughter and I are working on, and hopefully by the time I get back to jumping, we'll have that kind of rolling, and so we can work those together, and it can be a great ministry and witnessing opportunity for others to just hear my story and get curious about, you know, who Jesus is, you know, what's in the Bible, and you know, how did faith play a role in all this. Sometimes just hearing somebody's story is enough, but at the very least, the one thing I always remember is a quote that I heard, I don't even, it could be decades ago, I couldn't tell you, but it stuck with me, and it said, you know, you may be the only Bible that some people ever read. Okay, I think that's true. Some people may never really read the Bible. They may never pick it up. They may never go to church. But if they see that in your life, just in any way, whether it's just the way you conduct yourself daily, they see you going to church on Sunday morning, or hear your story, maybe that's enough to let the Holy Spirit work in their life. We don't know. We don't know a lot of the people that we're going to impact. In fact, we impact people all the time and we don't even know it. And so I keep that in mind as I'm going through all this, thinking that there's people that I may impact. I'll never know the impact. I'm not going to get a report. Hey, all these people, you made a positive difference in their lives, and these people went to church, and these people accepted Christ. And I don't want that. I wouldn't want that information if it were available, if someone can give it to me. That's not relevant to me. What I think is relevant is just living my life the way that I feel that I should, to the standards that I've implemented for myself based on biblical teaching and just who I am as a person. And so I hope some folks will understand maybe a little bit better that this is something I enjoy, and I'm going to continue to do it, and I do hope that it's influential for folks. I hope that my life can do something inspirational in their lives, and ultimately be that Bible that they've never read. And sometimes you have to overcome adversity and have people see you overcome that adversity and get back to something for people to notice, because that's just the way the world works sometimes. That's how every motivational speaker works. And so that's my story, at least for now. And my story is going to continue as I get better, as I recover, and as I get back on my feet and eventually get back in the air. But I hope that helps some of you who maybe don't understand. You probably never will until you do it. And if you don't do it, that's fine. Not your thing. No harm, no foul. But I do encourage everyone to try it at least once, or at least consider it, because it is a life-changing experience. And I can't think of too many experiences out there that are actually life-changing. And when I say life-changing, I mean you're going to look in the mirror and you're going to see a different person. Probably the only other life-changing experience that I think is out there, well, I don't want to say the only, but the only one that comes to mind right now that I've participated in as well, is running a marathon. Cross the finish line of a marathon, and this is a quote from the movie Spirit of the Marathon. I believe it was a gentleman who worked at Runner's World, may have been the editor at the time. He said, you know, when you cross the finish line of a marathon, no matter how fast or how slow, it will change your life forever. And it does. And the reason it does is because you start to realize that all of the limitations that existed in your life were created by you, and that you are able to surpass, or at least you have the ability to surpass. And you've always had that ability, you just needed to harness it. Skydiving is very similar, because you are pushing yourself to do something that is really not natural. You're pushing yourself into the fight or flight mode until you go out the door. And then once you get out the door, it's just sheer bliss. It's the happiest you will ever feel in your life. And by the time you get to the ground and you land, you'll be changed. And then you'll understand. And you'll again realize that those limitations that were in your mind were self-imposed. And I think that's why people jump, because they realize that they're capable of so much more. And we're all capable of much more than we think we are. So I challenge everybody to get out there and try it at least one time. And if you have questions, drop them in the comments below. I will gladly respond. But for now, that's this episode of The Cross and Pen, and I will see you on the next one.